All right, everybody, we are back with round two of the rookie mock draft based on Chad Reuter's 5-round NFL mock. If you missed it, pause this video, go back and watch the first one. I went through the first 12 picks. I'll put that link on the screen or in the description or both maybe. Once you get a chance to watch that one, then you can come back here. We're going to go through picks 13 to 24 right now. If you enjoy that video or you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing so that I can keep making Dynasty content. If you are a supporter of the channel, I do appreciate you, and it's only going to get better from here. Before I jump into pick 13, just some high-level takeaways from this second round. If the NFL draft plays out anything like this, with this many offensive players going in the first 2 days of the draft, rookie drafts are going to be an absolute blast. I mean, the late second round, early third round picks are going to be stacked. Just really, really fun players, better than I can remember in any recent rookie classes. The other thing is that it is very difficult to rank these players, especially once we get into like 16th or 17th overall. The margins become very, very thin. And honestly, it's a coin flip between one guy or the other sometimes. And I'll try to point that out where I feel like we're in sort of a flat tier or where you could easily go with another option. I had to put them in some order, which is always how these things go. But there's going to be a lot of flexibility with these late second round picks. So with 201, the 13th pick in our rookie mock, I'm going to take Blake Corum, who goes 37th overall to the Chargers in this mock draft. And this is really, I mean, this is the landing spot that everybody's had penciled in ever since Jim Harbaugh took the job. This is just such an obvious fit. I think in the third round is more realistic than this early second round, but this would be a smash spot for Corum. He was not the same player last year after his knee injury. His PFF rush grade came down. His yards after contact per attempt were down. His breakaway runs were down. I mean, he was not the same player in 2023, but nobody in the NFL knows him better than Jim Harbaugh. So if he's greenlighting this pick in the early second round and he wants to be reunited with his college running back, I think that's a good signal that we might see 2022 Corum make a return. And at the very least, this draft capital ensures he's going to get a lot of volume in an offense that should be good at running the ball. So I think he's a pretty easy pick here at 201, where at the very least he's going to get volume, which is going to give him a good shot at giving us RB2 production, maybe even right away as a rookie, with some low-end RB1 potential if we can see that efficiency from him bounce back. At 202, maybe not a fun pick here, but I think Michael Penix makes the most sense. He goes 33rd overall to the Raiders, so that would be the first pick in the second round of the NFL draft. And at that point, with the draft capital invested, I just think that he has the most value upside at this point, or at least the most projectable value upside. It kind of reminds me of Will Levis from last year, not like from like a style perspective, but just an older quarterback prospect who has a lot of red flags, who's going early round 2 to a team with serious question marks at quarterback. Last year, it was Ryan Tannehill, who was kind of getting up there in age. Arm talent was kind of falling off. Now we have Penix going to the Raiders, where Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell are the competition. I think it's almost locked in that Penix would start games in 2024, which would give him a lot of opportunity to rise in value. If he was to show us anything in those starts, it would all be about what can he do in 2025 as the week 1 starter. I can understand passing on him here for other positions if you're looking for more of like an immediate contribution, but I think he has the most value upside here, and he's going to be my pick. At 203, we have Lad McConkey, who in this mock draft goes 38th overall to the Tennessee Titans. This is a tough spot for McConkey because you've got Ridley and Hopkins there, who are almost certainly going to play on 2 wide receiver sets. So you've got a crowded wide receiver room, and you have this unproven quarterback in Will Levis. It's sort of a recipe for disaster for rookie production, at least. On the other hand, the offense is going to be pass heavy under Brian Callahan, most likely. Might even be a little bit up tempo. Both of those outside wide receivers are older. Hopkins is over 30. Ridley, I think, is 29. So there's opportunity on the horizon. And if Levis does turn out to be good, this could end up being a really great landing spot. Altogether, taking in that early round 2 draft capital as well, and a pretty interesting profile where there's like high per route efficiency, I think McConkey makes sense here as the wide receiver 6 in the class. At 204, I'm going with Trey Benson, who goes 70th overall to the Giants in this mock. That's the early third round. And yeah, I'd like Benson a lot more if he was a second round pick. I'm still holding out hope that that does happen in real life. But even here in the third round, I do like him. The good thing about Benson in New York is that the only thing standing between him and a workhorse role is Devin Singletary. And yeah, I mean, that didn't work out well for Dameon Pierce last year, but Singletary is not the most imposing running back to have ahead of you on the depth chart. That's all I'm saying. So I think there's opportunity for Benson, who does have that big playability. He's capable pass catcher. I think it's an interesting spot for him, and I like him in the early second. Following closely on his heels at 205, we have Jaylen Wright, who goes 62nd overall to the Ravens, so late second. And I almost put him ahead of Benson just because he was a second round pick. I do like Wright as well. The big thing for me is that it's just harder to picture him becoming a workhorse, especially in this type of a situation where he's clearly going to be behind Derrick Henry this year. He's never going to see a goal line touch. The skill fit here is obvious. He becomes kind of the replacement for Keaton Mitchell in this scenario, where he would be the lightning to Derrick Henry's thunder. He's going to be the change of pace guy. It's all very exciting. There would definitely be spike weeks, and there'd be some handcuff upside, some long-term upside being in a Lamar Jackson offense. But the year one production feels like it would be capped. That's what's going to be the tiebreaker for me between him and Benson. At 206, we're going to go with Xavier Legette, who goes 45th to the Saints in this one. I really didn't want to like Legette at all. Just looking at his college profile, he did nothing for 4 seasons. All of his production comes in his 5th college season. Very unusual college journey. But the thing is that he did hit some pretty good marks in that 5th season, marks that other wide receivers in this class haven't hit. His yards per out run, his yards per team pass attempt in his best season is 6th highest amongst this class. Late breakouts are hard to get behind because their production comes when other players on their team, players on the opposing defense, are years younger than them. And so it's like, okay, are you just physically dominating the competition? And he is a physically dominant player, very athletic. But at this point in the rookie draft, I'm willing to swing on that type of a profile. Nobody here is flawless. At least he's shown us high on production, and he's going to a team where there's not a ton of target competition. You've obviously got Chris Olave as the established alpha there, and then you have Rashid Shaheed, but he's much more of a role player. I think Legette would at least have the chance to be the 2nd highest target earner in the Saints offense as a rookie. I definitely waffle between Legette and my next guy here at 207, which is Jatavian Sanders, tight end prospect out of Texas. He goes to the Dolphins at 55. I love the idea of the Dolphins adding a legit receiving threat at tight end, not just trotting out Durham Smythe again. And Sanders was legitimately productive in college, despite playing alongside guys like Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Brooks, Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell. I mean, he has good production metrics for a tight end prospect, and he just turned 21. So there's a lot to like about Sanders. His athletic numbers, a little bit underwhelming. Maybe that limits his upside in the NFL. I'm not sure, but it is a really good situation overall, at least long term. In the short term, he's sort of blockaded by Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. A rookie tight end who's 3rd in the pecking order is really not going to knock your socks off in terms of fantasy production, but he could garner a little bit of hype after his first season, especially people start thinking about Tyreek Hill retiring. Maybe Sanders flashes a little bit of upside, and all of a sudden it's like he could be the 2nd target. I don't know. At this point in rookie drafts, you're never going to get the great profile and the great landing spot together. Those guys always go earlier. So you kind of have to pick your poison. I'm comfortable taking him in this crowded offense, just given his production profile. At 208, it's another Texas player, Adonai Mitchell, who goes 53rd to the Eagles. I'm already inclined to dislike Adonai Mitchell as a prospect just because his production was so underwhelming in college. The only reason his dominator even looked okay as a junior was because he scored a bunch of touchdowns. Xavier Worthy was still far outpacing him as far as earning volume. The film community seems to like Mitchell a lot, and so I'm kind of willing to be open-minded about him. If he's going to go mid-second round to a team that has A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert, I just don't see how he's going to carve out a significant role. He couldn't even carve out a significant role in his college offense. I don't see how he's going to do it in Philadelphia. This is as early as I'm comfortable taking him. At 209, it's going to be Ben Sinnott, who goes 44th overall to the Panthers. This is a tight end prospect who's been getting a little bit of hype lately. I did not expect to see him go so early in this mock draft, but I mean, I kind of love it. Ben Sinnott has the highest average depth of target of any tight end in this class. And according to Scott Barrett, he ranks 2nd in missed tackles forced among all tight end prospects since 2014, or at least Power 5 tight end prospects. To have a high ADOT and to force a lot of missed tackles kind of shows that Sinnott is a unique athlete. And I love the opportunity here in Carolina where outside of Deontay, there's not really a good 2nd target option. So you have good draft capital, you have good target opportunity, and you have a lack of competition. That's a recipe for success as far as tight ends are concerned. And I'm very happy to get him this late in the 2nd. At 210, we kind of have an opposite situation to Sinnott where we have kind of a previously highly touted prospect with a little bit of a fall from grace here. I don't know if Troy Franklin will fall to the 3rd round of the NFL draft, but he does here. He goes 67th overall to the Commanders. It's a very early 3rd round pick, but it is still a 3rd round pick. And the thing about Franklin is that he does have a really nice production profile. Like he's coming out early. He got better every year of his college career. His junior season is really solid, but not enough to erase all of the concerns. Like if he's a 3rd round pick at his build, he's a very thin wide receiver. He doesn't look like a lot of really successful wide receivers in the league. He starts to lose a little bit of his luster. I'm pushing him ahead of several wide receivers that went above him in this mock draft. So I'm still giving a little bit of weight to his production. I can't push him up a ton just given these other concerns. At 211, let's get a little bit crazy. I'm going to take Will Shipley, running back from Clemson. He goes to the Chiefs in this one at near the end of the third round, 95th overall. And am I chasing the landing spot here? Yes, I am chasing the landing spot. I have no shame about that. Shipley wasn't like an amazing running back prospect or anything, but he's getting the requisite draft capital. He can kind of do everything. Like, he's a good pass catcher. Being on the Chiefs just gives you a ton of value upside. Like, just being on the Chiefs, if you do anything, your dynasty value is going to go up. So it's just a combination of like base competence where if something happens to Pacheco, if he gets injured or he falls out of favor, Shipley could step in and he could look very good, especially in a limited stretch. And then all of a sudden, you've got a lot of hype behind him. You're able to either use that production or you can flip him for something a little more exciting. And we're going to close things out here at 212 with Roman Wilson, who goes to the Patriots here at 68th overall. He's going to be paired with Drake May, kind of have the potential to be his wide receiver one. I'm still holding out some hope for Demario Douglas, but Wilson's an interesting prospect as well. I mean, he has good, not great production across the board, and he's not an early declare. So he certainly could be a lot more exciting. But amongst the rest of these names, I just like the combination of his production and his landing spot the best. And also, I do think maybe a little bit of grace can be offered given the offensive situation that he was in. You know, we kind of saw a similar type of profile from Nico Collins, who didn't have those best season numbers you typically like to see, but he got third round draft capital. And eventually he did hit in the NFL. So I'm not saying Wilson's going to be Nico Collins or anything like that. They certainly look very, very different in terms of their physical body types. But I do think it's possible that just the way Harbaugh ran that offense was limiting Roman Wilson in kind of the same way that it limited Nico Collins. I don't know. It's possible. At 212, why not? Right. I will say I had a very, very hard time limiting this just to 12 guys. There weren't quite enough to justify a like round 3 video on its own, but just some honorable mentions just missed the cut. You got Johnny Wilson, who goes 46th overall to the Colts. Honestly, had a lot of trouble leaving him out, just like based on his draft capital alone in the second round. Also, Ricky Pearsall going 71st to the Cardinals was kind of interesting. And Marshawn Lloyd getting third round draft capital to go to the Buccaneers. He'd be sitting behind Rachaad White at first, but it's still solid draft capital for a running back. And he does have a cool profile as well. Anyway, all of those guys at one point or another was sitting in that 212 spot. I ultimately went with Roman Wilson, but the third round of these rookie drafts is going to be stacked if the draft goes like this at all. If nothing else, this exercise has made me very excited for the real NFL draft, made me very excited for my rookie drafts as well. I hope you guys are too. I hope you have a lot of rookie picks that you can make. And that's going to do it for this rookie mock draft. So if you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing and leave a comment if you disagree with any of my rankings or you think I should have shuffled them around a different way. You know, who's your favorite guy off of this list? I'd love to hear any of that stuff. So leave a comment. I'll make sure to reply. And otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video.